morning. Welcome back, guys, to the Paulina podcast. I'm your host, Linder. And yeah, got a few topics to go over today. First one was the Pam Bondi hearings. Second thing is the what I'm calling the Super Bowl aftermath. And let's see. Uh, yeah, I guess we'll just cover those two for now. In the Pam Bondi news, as everybody knows, or for those who don't, there was a hearing that was held not too long ago where I would say many will say that she wasn't good, and others will say that or others will say that they understand why she didn't say much. Um, to kind of make this all kind of understandable, oh, that was my kid throwing something in the background. To make this more understandable, um, I kind of wanted to break down how these hearings really work, because I don't really think people even know what they're looking at when they're looking at these congressional hearings. Um, in this case, we have Pam Bondi, um, Trump appointee, you know, um, in a bipartisan setting. you know, some are going to agree with what she's doing, others are not. In the essence of that, we kind of see the transgression of how the ideologies, really become a proponent, and they get weaponized in these settings. The mere fact that she was elected by Trump, appointed by Trump, already kind of predetermines the Democratic occupants of the seats, kind of taint their perception already before they even know who this person is. you know um I, for one, understand that procedurally there are many things that we are just not allowed to disclose, especially as law enforcement. And I'm not saying we like I'm law enforcement. I'm nothing nowhere near. I'm actually trying to become a lawyer, so I mean, it shows where I stand. But besides the point, law enforcement, while they have a duty and an obligation to remain, you know, like we expect them to keep their integrity. We expect them to be these noble figures that are given a power, and we're expecting them to do what's right with that power. A lot of people may argue that maybe they're not. Maybe this isn't how it looks like. This isn't how it's supposed to be. But I beg to differ. With the Pam Bondi situation and the Epstein files, no one ever disputed that there were going to be redactions. No one ever disputed that we were going to do whatever we could to protect the victims and the victims' names. That was never disputed. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, and this is the big hammer, is that the Bidens had this first. The Biden administration had the full access after the his the suicide, which again, that in and of itself is kind of fishy. But you know, the Biden administration had full control. You know, Merrick Garland, I never heard him being put in the hot seat. How Pam Bondi is for the Epstein files. Maybe for many other issues, maybe that it wasn't that the Republicans weren't asking, but when you have a Republican candidate that's running, a campaign and releasing the Epstein files as one of the proponents of his campaign, why would we even continue to press the person that's actually doing the most that any other administration has ever done regarding the Epstein files? I mean, it just sounds kind of disingenuous that the same Democrats who are pushing so hard on this weren't pushing so hard on the Democrats who were in office when Biden was in office regarding the Epstein files. But of course, we say the names. Now they're going to run with us. They're like, oh, you want to release that? Oh, okay. Well, this is what's shown here. And it's the constant game of pointing fingers, you know. And I see these congressional hearings, I see a lot of Democratic congressmen sit there and grill Pam Bondi for, not saying too much, or maybe that she fumbled it, but let me be clear. When they tried to assassinate Trump, they they didn't do much to investigate it. It didn't seem like they even wanted to investigate it. So it just goes to show where they stand as far as like, okay, well, this is what we're going to worry about and this is what we're not going to worry about. They're only caring about the files now because they saw that one, Trump's name is in it. They're like, oh, look at this, look at here. There's nothing incriminating, but the fact that it's on the files, it's enough to scold the man. Trump posted a very offensive meme about the the Democratic members of Congress, kind of like as animals of the jungle. And at the end of the video, they didn't know that, or I don't know if they didn't know, but it ends with the Obamas as monkeys. That's fucked up. I mean, either way you cut it, it's fucked up. However, people are now saying, oh, well, how come Trump didn't apologize? Well, this is the thing. It doesn't matter what he does. Whether he posts a meme or he does it and apologizes, it doesn't matter. You're coming into that courtroom with your minds already set. Your minds are already made up. We talk about people that try to I would say smear or poison the well, and they have no shame in their game. They have no shame in their game. You would see them on all these media platforms, like with confidence, like they litigated this thing themselves, talking about these things. We don't know what happened with Epstein. We're never going to know the full story. And that's not a Republican talking point. That's not a Democratic talking point. The point is that we're never going to know. But we're all sitting here talking like we know. And we're scolding people for it. You know, people who probably wake up and try really hard to do their job. You know, you don't like it when people come to your job and tell you how to run your show. You know, but when you see someone defending the fact that they have a right to defend their job, I mean, we're pissed off about it. You know, kind of segue into the whole Super Bowl thing. You know, like, you know, who cares who plays at the Super Bowl? You know, who really cares about that? Like, are Republicans really gonna lose their head over who the fuck is playing at the Super Bowl? Are Democrats really gonna sit there and start playing the fucking the moral high ground card and saying that the Super Bowl was this and the Super Bowl was that, and why are the Republicans even talking about it when they have their racist version playing on another channel? It's like, no, dude, who cares? So what? Bad Bunny played at the Super Bowl. So what? They had a Super Bowl counterpart. So what? So what? You know? So the fuck what? What the fuck does it matter? You know, how are we going to sit here and play moral high ground when the world is fucked up and is full of fucked up people on both sides? You know, I vote Republican, but I have my reasons why I vote Republican. I don't just go with the flow of people, and I do my research, and that's where it landed me. You know, I wish a lot of people would do the same. You know, Bad Bunny right now is even more popular, and the right helped to do that because he kept saying his name over and over and over again. What do you think is going to happen? The guy's going to get even more famous or infamous than you want him to be. You know, if you really didn't care for race, and Republicans and conservatives really want to be deemed as, hey, look, we're not racist, it's like, then you shouldn't give a fuck about this. Yeah, so what? You know what? Bad Bunny was talking shit, but you know what? He was fucking exercising his First Amendment right. Fuck it. Who cares? Yeah, he said he was talking shit about ICE. Okay, and what? Now he's not a good artist? No, man, he's still a good artist. You know how many superstars and how many freaking actors are out there freaking speaking their mind because they want to? Well, they also have the money to back it up. You know, they also have the money to take a hit. You know, Bad Bunny isn't the only person who's an American who's talking shit about America. No, he's not. So what the fuck is it? Why is he being glorified as the only person that is? You know, it makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. You know, I try to make sense of it because I see a lot of people in my circle, you know, outraged about these things. You know, outraged to the point that I've lost friends. I've lost, you know, colleagues. You know, certain people don't talk to me no more because they let this political rhetoric get to their head and start dictating their life outside of whatever you're doing with your politics. You know, it makes no sense for people to go to that level. It makes no sense. You know, I've even invited people, you know, to come talk on my podcast. You know, I even premised it. I didn't try to bait anyone. I try to tell people that it is going to be a debate, and I want to see where exactly you're coming from. You know, but instead of people wanting to engage with me, I had a lot of people run away. So what do you expect everybody to think when there's a lot of people on the right speaking their mind? But when the people on the left start speaking their mind, it comes out in the form of stupidity. You know, Now, look, Bad Bunny, I don't have a problem with Bad Bunny. I think the halftime show was great. Now, do I also think that what he said at the Grammys was retarded? I mean, yeah. Not because I support immigration enforcement, but because why are you standing on a stage that has to do with musical awards and you're talking politics? The fuck is why are you mixing? Why you want to bring politics into something that's completely untainted by the world of politics? You know, you want to start politicizing the Grammys? I mean, I may sound naive by saying that and not realize that it's been politicized for years, and that a lot of people every year make, dumbass political remarks about the current events. I know it's been happening. And my question is why? If I was any PR guy for any of these superstars, I'll tell them to shut the fuck up. I'll tell them to shut the fuck up. Don't say anything. Oh, I want to speak about ICE. No, you don't. You want to keep your fucking mouth shut, because let me tell you something. There are people who do support ICE that probably buy your music. So I'm trying to maximize your capital. And the best way to do that is for you to shut the fuck up. Because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Now, did Bad Money lose a lot of money? No. Did he get even more famous than he was before? Oh, yeah. Oh, fucking hell yeah. But I see him as an individual. I do not see him as this, this figure that represents all of Span. No, no, I don't. I don't. I don't see that. You know, all I see is a man who's very talented and deserves to play to perform at the halftime show. I think he does. I think he's that caliber artist. Um, do I agree with the politics? No, I don't. I don't agree with his politics, but I myself see myself as someone who gives people the benefit of the doubt, the time of day. Hey, look, man, guy came from nothing, just like me. You know, Spanish, just like me. Of course, man. Of course, I have ethos in this argument because I feel a little bit connected because I'm Spanish. But at the same time, it's the way that it's being handled. Why are we being highly political in a setting that pretty much pays your bills? I mean, I'm sorry, but the Grammys, you know, people are going to talk about this. You know, I don't follow none of this shit, but I know that the Grammys are a pretty big fucking deal for artists. And if you go in there and you start talking about something political, it's going to ring. It's going to have a echoing, and it's going to resonate, and it's going to continue to go through the channels of social media festering. You know that. That's why I also understand why he did it. I don't understand why he shut his. I don't understand why he stuck quiet, but I also do understand why he did go on to do it. You doing it for clout, and he did. Every fucking media is talking about him. Every fucking media outlet was talking about him. So he got what he wanted. Which was more famous. It's just interesting because no one really mentions these things. They just really go with what's the bigger story. Like now that it's been proven over and over and over again that Trump isn't criminally, implicated in the Epstein files, they're moving on to different things. You know, now Pierce Morgan brought up a good point the other day. Well, during the course of his show, but they brought up the notion that in the UK, people are being fucking prosecuted left and right for being involved in the Epstein files. Whilst here, it's only been Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein who have actually seen the inside of a jail cell. So kind of odd, kind of odd. Because, back to my whole, Biden had control of the Epstein files. And it seems like there's a lot of people who are both Democrats and Republicans who have been involved in this are listed in there. So whatever's being hidden, I may not be able to tell you what's going on with the Epstein file, but I can make a prediction. Whatever is in there involves both Democrats and Republicans. And secretly, and again, this is just speculative. I'm not trying to be sued by anyone, but I'm just speaking purely speculation, hypothetical as fuck. All I'm saying is that maybe, again, just speculating, they both are in there and they are both protecting the release of the files. Again, I'm not trying to be sued. All I'm saying is that it seems that both sides don't want it to be released. Because I'm going to be the one to throw the Biden administration into context and say, well, they didn't do anything with it either. So I'm not going to blame the Republicans just because the Democrats didn't do anything with the Epstein files and the Republicans did. No, I can't shift the blame like that. I could spread the blame. I think they're both guilty. Then they're both going to see, or I think that they're both going to be exposed, hopefully. And we'll see that it contains people from both aisles. I don't see I can also see that the circle is pretty high up. We're talking about CEOs of Fortune 500, Silicon Valley freaking corporations that are in there. They are in the files. So, whatever that means, we don't know, and we shouldn't speculate either. That's the problem. We're continuing to speculate, and it's festering. That's what we're seeing. Everybody knows what's going on without all of the facts. Another issue I wanted to bring up was the I spoke about the bad money. What else I got here? I wanted to bring something else up. Let's see here. I typically just go through, a series of stories, and I kind of just pick and choose which ones I kind of wanted to do. I kind of got overwhelmed here a little bit. Back on the Epstein thing for a little bit. The implications that he's being, that he's an informant for the Mossad, I think that's pretty wild. Because if that's the case, who knows how far that rabbit hole goes? Who was he protecting? Who was he informing on? Is there a bigger thing? Is Epstein just the tip of the iceberg? What the fuck is going on here? Because you when we see the whole timeline and how everything kind of turned out. Right after Epstein died, I mean, so many people were very quiet who were named in the Epstein files were very fucking quiet, you know? And, also the silence from the Biden administration with the Epstein files just sitting there, you know? Also, the Trump administration running on that. That's such a. Like, are the people really that concerned with Epstein? And I mean, I say that. Look, it's a pretty fucked up story. I'm not saying that nobody would be interested or try to protect the victims in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying to run a campaign on that, very odd. It's very odd to me. You know, borders kind of make sense. The whole ending the war in Ukraine kind of makes sense. Those are things you run on, but federal case involving a hedge fund guy, which I would imagine that's what he's pinned at, as far as the public knows, turns out to be this freaking secret man who has a secret island with a secret, human trafficking ring. It's it makes sense to a certain extent because of the blackmail aspect of the operations of Epstein. I've read a lot of Tom Clancy books. I've seen a lot of movies, and I hate to go that, but I just so I don't really misspeak about anyone. I've seen it a lot in movies where someone is twisting, a bad guy is twisting the arm of another guy, and he's doing it in the form of blackmail. And typically, this blackmail, oh man, I forgot which movie it was. I don't even think it was a movie. I think it was the show The Boys with the superheroes. Well, there's a scene where the superhero can turn into anyone and look and sound like the person that they're turning into. And the person who's doing this was trying to do a favor for a higher up so that they can get superheroes into the military. And the only thing that was standing in their way was this congressman. Well, they blackmail him by pretty much getting the superhero that turns into many people to look like a woman, a very attractive woman, get the congressman in bed. And when the congressman was in bed, the very attractive woman puts a blindfold on the man. Then the superhero transforms into this ugly man and starts taking selfies as he's doing things sexually to the man. The man just thinks, whatever, he's blindfolded. I mean, I don't know how you would feel the difference, how you wouldn't feel the difference. But nonetheless, the pictures were taken, and then the lady who was trying to get the superheroes into the military, into the government, used those photos to blackmail him. And that just goes, I'm just bringing up that little anecdote just to show that it's so common in movies, the concept of blackmail. It's such a common thing. So if he was an intelligence officer, I mean, this will be the perfect setup. They found different types of passports in his property or in his possession or whatever the case may be. I didn't read too much into the details as to how they procured the evidence. But they did find other documentation that shows him trying to identify someone else. Now, That could mean a lot of things. But if we look at every fucking secret agent movie that we freaking laid our eyes on, yeah, the guy goes to a different country with a different passport and a different name, and they give him an alias, and he's under this alias, and he does all these secret agent things, asks this alias, and he can't blow his cover. All this is typical secret agent stuff. You know. Now, I'm not trying to appeal to Epstein in any way. The guy's a monster, but if he was a secret agent, it just seems very conveniently clear that he was. And like it's just this weird expectation by the people releasing this information that the people are going to be naive enough to look over that, and it's kind of like they are. No one's really putting that two and two together, and I get it. There's legal things that you can't say. That can cause you to be, targeted legally. But I can say this. I'm not sure what went down with Epstein, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was, officially deemed as what they're speculating him to be, which is an agent of some sort, some kind of intelligence agent. What better way to do it than blackmailing old dudes, blackmailing them into doing whatever you want, bend them to your will, using a video of them doing something with an underage girl. I mean, it's when I tell you it's the perfect plan, I couldn't be any more clear, because that happens, you agree to this massage or just to a get together, and then all of a sudden these oddly young looking women start showing up, and immediately you're caught on camera. They have you on camera, and now they're gonna you don't even have to do anything with the girls. You just have to be in the same location as the underage girl. That's all that has to happen. They just have to pin you as the last person to be with that girl that's, inappropriate, that's being with that girl inappropriately. So how can anyone, how can nobody really put that two and two together? Like how is that not even being seen as a possibility? Because it's kind of clear to me. I mean, I don't know if maybe I've watched too many movies. Could be, but I mean, any guy with multiple passports, and then he kills himself. Again, very odd. Very odd for a man of his stature to just end it all. You would imagine that a person like that would fight. I would imagine a person like that would, if he wasn't an agent or a secret agent, you would imagine that a person like that wouldn't go down as cowardly as committing suicide. That right there, I mean, you're already deemed a piece of shit, and then you go out as a coward. Well, what do people do with that? Are people just supposed to say, he was a rich white man who liked to diddle little girls. Very possible. Not saying that it's not. But his own island. I mean, I could name you a lot of rich guys right now. An island? A whole island? I mean, I don't know what you have to do in order to get your own island, but I would imagine it's you'd have to do quite a bit. I feel like you'd have to do quite a bit. You know, I don't think you can just buy an island. You know, this whole Mossad thing starts making more sense and more sense. It's truly, truly bizarre. Truly bizarre how everything went down. And now the debacle that supposedly the Democrats are the forefront running, talking about release the files, when Trump was the one who even brung up the Epstein files to begin with. I mean, come on, man. We asked Trump if when he's in office, will he release the files, and he fucking did it. If not, he did more than what Biden did. He did way more than what Biden did. No one is saying that. No one's saying that. Everybody's just like, oh, yeah, but he's still in it. I mean, be real, man. Have a little, what's it called, understanding of everything, not just of the person, but of the law, of the procedures, of everything that's involved around releasing files, classification, the people that are involved, who are in charge, who has these records, how long has these records been in possession. I mean, all of these things need to be put into context, and people are just not. They're not putting any context. They're just saying, oh, he's in there, so it must be that this is. No, man. So the fuck what? So the fuck what? That's my answer to that. You know, don't be opinionated if you're not gonna understand the context of anything, because at this point you're just stirring the pot. You're just stirring the pot. You're just saying shit because other people are saying shit. You know. No one ever battled on immigration until Trump started actually doing something with immigration, and it was getting caught on video. And people want to sit there and say that it's not the same with Obama, but it's the fucking same thing. It's the same exact thing. Nothing was different. Hell, there's people that are still working now that are ICE agents that were working since the Obama administration. What do you think these are rookies? These are fucking 20-year, 10, 15-year freaking veterans that are still doing this shit. What about them? Are they Trump's army? How are they Trump's army if they were hired during the Obama administration? Riddle me that, Batman. Riddle me fucking that, you know. Just makes no sense. Makes no sense, and a lot of people are starting to get more and more outraged about it. And we're starting to see more people being outspoken, you know. Starting to see that, and I'm happy to say I've become one of those people, you know, because I wasn't really looking to do this. I started doing this because we need more voices. We need more voices, and not anyone more on the right, not any more on the left, but just voices who not that they're in the middle, but that they understand both sides. Okay, which I guess I would count as being in the middle, but I lean conservative. However, I can still have a conversation with a lot of fucking people. You know, I would much rather do that than us fight. I would much rather do that than us kill each other and shoot each other. You know, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. But don't be disingenuous about that either. You know, come talk about it, but do it in good faith. You know, don't try to strong arm or win or no. Let's just get the conversation out there. Let's try to get on the same level playing field of understanding. If we can't do that, that's fine. You know, we need a marketplace of ideas. We need to have diversity in information. You know, so yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in for this another episode of the Explicitly Explained podcast. Also, the Paulino podcast. Channel's called Explicitly Explained, but I guess I'm confusing myself here as far as what the name of the podcast is. Anyways, yeah, I'll keep you updated on the latest current events, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Peace.